Nicholas is a wonderful 12-year-old son of mine, sandwiched in the middle of two beautiful girls. And when we named him, we didn't realize what his name would come to mean for us. Nicholas means overcomer. Wow. I had no clue that he had to overcome something, and that thing is autism. Nicholas is wonderful in many ways. He has an ability to make you feel special. When he looks at me and I look at him, I feel warm inside. It all began with Nicholas, a boy that was funny in the beginning, learning to giggle and all that stuff, and then the lights went out.
Dr. Genevieve Kumapley, an oncology pharmacist, and her husband, Robert, a structural engineer, were just another middle-class American family with their three children, Senna, Nicholas, and Delali. Then Nicholas, their middle child, who had met all his developmental milestones from birth, began to change.
He was developing okay. He gets to 2 years old and we started realizing the change in him, and he was beginning to not pay attention and not respond to calls. That to me as a father was very devastating, because all of a sudden all the plans I had for him, going to the ball game and going to the soccer field, I just kind of saw them, vanishing before my eyes. And then we had to deal with the fact that autism was a diagnosis that we didn't know anything about. We hadn't heard about before.
We thought we had lost our son because when you called him, he didn't turn and he didn't look at you. We lost ourselves in the process, but we found him. And we found an amazing, wonderful, smart, intelligent, loving boy. I don't think I want anything differently than what I've had with him, because it's changed, transformed, and made us compassionate people. It's made me a compassionate person.
After years of therapy, Nicholas has made significant progress and has inspired the Kumapleys to start up in 2008 MyGOAL Incorporated, a nonprofit foundation helping families with limited economic resources access therapies, programs, and information about autism in New Jersey. MyGOAL is an acronym for My Gateway to Overcoming Autism in Life.
Wake up, good morning. This is Africa calling.
In February 2012, MyGOAL expanded the vision of restoring lives and families to encompass intellectual disabilities in Ghana, the Kumapleys' home country in West Africa.
I imagine having Nicholas grow up in Ghana and thinking to myself, what would it be like, or where would he be right now? And I know based on the resources that I hear, I'm not quite sure he would have made the same progress. I say that because I know how intensive the therapies he's received. We have him in school from September all the way through August with only 3 weeks off. He gets one-on-one attention. He gets home therapy. We have exhaustive resources in medical related things for him. Now, if I'm in Ghana, perhaps I may have the resources, but I may lack the access to the same specialized programs. However, there are new resources that are emerging into this country. I just recently spoke to a chiropractor. Nicholas sees a chiropractor in the United States. We also see nutritionists. I know that that's coming to Ghana. So clearly, even with resources, when I say resources, I mean financial resources. There are some things you can get in Ghana. However, there's some things you cannot get.
AAIDD, the American Association on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, defines intellectual disability as a condition characterized by significant limitations in both intellectual functioning and in adaptive behavior, which covers many everyday social and practical skills. The World Health Organization says that the condition means a significantly reduced ability to understand new or complex information and to learn and apply new skills, resulting in reduced ability to cope independently.
Even international, our concept is not just to focus on just autism, but to focus also on other children with different disabilities, what they term as intellectually disabled. So autism was one aspect of it, and because naturally I have a child with autism, that was what drew me to this work. And in visiting Ghana and talking with other people across the globe, we realized that sometimes people are confused about what we term as a child on the spectrum. So there was a need to really expand our definition to include kids on the spectrum, children with autism, children with other intellectual disabilities, where it could be a language disorder, where it could be challenges with learning and, with other learning disabilities.
I'm very impressed with the dedication that people bring to their work with children with special needs with such a lack of resources compared to us. So in the United States, we're always concerned that we're not doing enough for children with special needs, and we have parents wanting more and teachers wanting more and child study team people wanting more. Yet what we have compared to the people of Ghana is just so rich and so valuable, and we have so many resources to bring to our children. And these people here are doing the same kind of work with so much less.
A lot of us come from cultures where we were told that, oh, the child is not speaking, that's because your grandmother didn't speak until so and so. We're told, oh, he'll catch up, you just don't worry. So for many of us, we ignore the signs that are there early and we wait till it's quite a bit late. So one of the things I do when I talk to families is, and especially women who are, pregnant or have infants, I said, pay attention to the development. The earlier you intervene, the better. So the child who may be languishing in their development, we need to engage them right away and prod them, encourage them, specifically be attentive to how they're developing. It's very, very critical. Many people, when they don't know the signs, may ignore it. And even if we're told that our child will speak later, there's nothing wrong with intervening and engaging the services of a speech therapist, which is the reason why I go out there and talk about autism awareness and other intellectual disability issues.
Intellectual disability, sometimes called cognitive disability, is the most common developmental disability. According to the National Dissemination Center for Children with Disabilities, a person with the condition may take longer to speak, walk, and take care of their personal needs, such as dressing or eating, and is likely to have trouble learning in school. In severe or profound cases, a child with intellectual disability may have motor problems, seizures, mental disorders, and other health problems.
There was a mother carrying a baby, and the kid was diagnosed with Down syndrome, and the kid was drooling, and the kid wasn't eating. The mother spoke to me and said, can you just tell me how to stop this drooling? Can you just tell me what to do to make this child start chewing, start eating chicken?
Indicators of intellectual disability in children, depending on the severity, may appear during infancy or may become noticeable when a child starts school. Intellectual disabilities have many causes, the most common of which are genetic conditions, complications during pregnancy, problems with childbirth, and injury or illness. In Ghana, pregnancy and childbearing are considered a blessing. But when a child is born with or develops an intellectual disability, there is bewilderment, fear, and panic. Stories abound of homes broken by a child's interrupted development. In some corners of the country, children with intellectual disabilities are still considered the products of demon possession or ancestral curses placed on the mother. Enemies with the evil eye and punishment for sins are sometimes blamed in areas where a poverty of information is prevalent.
A church member who knows that I work with special needs told me at church on Sunday that she cried because she saw a boy who has been chained and is being given food like a dog. And I was like, wow. So apart from all the things we're doing, there are still people who have not understood that these children can be trained to live to live meaningful lives. So still we need more awareness because people are keeping their children still in the room and treating them as, excuse me to say, animals.
Those periods were very tough because you can see his peers moving ahead, jumping from class to class, and he not meeting those milestones in order to catch up with them. For me as a father, that was very tough, and it was a big challenge both for me and my wife, because in some cases it was difficult to handle even as a couple. Because there were times that we snapped at each other, not because of what we were doing, but because of the situation that we were presented with, and it was really tough. And through year 3 to 5 were some of the toughest, because you want him to kind of heal fast, to kind of recover quickly, so that you can fit into the overall group, so that his peers don't leave him behind. And those were very tough times.
Parents can only operate with the knowledge that they possess. Most parents think they're doing what's best for their child, especially in a place where there is little or no government assistance.
It's the same thing for all parents. We want the best for our children. Whether they have special needs or don't have special needs, we always want the best for them. And for some parents, it takes a while to come to terms with the disability of their child. But as soon as they do, they want to strive to do the best for their kids.
Confused parents of children with intellectual disability sometimes resort to the church or traditional healer, especially where modern facilities to facilitate the management of the condition are non-existent or too far away. In many cases, the children's conditions go undiagnosed because these parents cannot afford the prohibitive cost of available care. People with any kind of disability anywhere in the world continue to be marginalized despite scientific advancements and growing understanding of their specific condition. Children on the autism spectrum, for example, in Ghana, as well as in most of Africa, tend to be diagnosed much later than anywhere else in the world. In Ghana, discrimination against people with intellectual disability is pervasive in the educational system, workplace, within the health system, and the larger social structure. Unemployment is higher among people living with intellectual disabilities than it is with any other group. Although Ghana was an early adopter of the need for special education, there are currently only 4 special needs schools serving its 24 million populace.
As far back as 1965, we had a program in the country for training teachers, specialist teachers, to handle those with hearing impairment and then visual impairment. Then in 1972, they added intellectual disability, which was known as mental retardation. But from 1990, we had a diploma program, and this diploma program produced those with diploma in special needs. We call them special education teachers in Ghana. And before that, people were always sponsored to go outside and train and come. But from there, they were trained in Ghana. And I was the second in the batch that were trained in Ghana to handle special needs. And we have been managing special schools with boarding facilities for the visually impaired, for the hearing impaired, and for the intellectual disability. So all along, what we've been practicing is segregation, training the teachers in how to manage these needs in special schools. But at the same time, because inclusive education is going to take over from 2015, we have managed to switch over gradually from segregation to inclusion.
Despite efforts to increase awareness and the government's plan for full inclusion for all persons living with intellectual disabilities in Ghana, there is still an enormous lack of understanding of the causes, treatment, and management options.
It's becoming more clear and clear that there is a medical basis for the behavioral issues that we see in autism.
Almost all studies report the prevalence of intellectual disability is higher among males than it is among females. There is a significant number of misdiagnoses in Ghana, and several individuals correctly diagnosed remain untreated. A recent study by Inclusion Ghana, a network of support organizations in Ghana, reveals individuals with intellectual disabilities are the third largest group of persons with disabilities in Ghana. The same report calls the condition the most stigmatized in the country. But not all kinds of intellectual disabilities prevent an individual from living a normal life.
When I started working with the kids in the room that needed speech therapy, I worked with about maybe 10 to 15 kids. And the last kid, the owner of that school came to me and said, can you just try working with this kid because this kid doesn't talk at all. And then I brought out an iPad, because in America now, all speech therapists, there's so many apps out there that you can use in your therapy. And I brought out my iPad, and the kid, I modeled the word to him with the iPad. And when I said model, what I mean was that, you say the word to the child and see if the child will say it back to you. And it could be a simple word like car. I said car, and the kid said back to me, car. But it wasn't very clear, but he said back a word. And the teachers got up from their seat and ran over to us and stood by us and said, did he just say car? I said, yes, he does say car. They said, this kid has never spoken. I mean, I said, are you serious? They said, yes. So apart from saying cars, we did body parts, eyes, nose, and the kid was repeating after me, saying all these words that I wanted to cry.
Research indicates some persons do well wherever common components of every successful treatment of individuals with intellectual disabilities are available. These include, but are not limited to, the need for intensive early intervention within supportive and structured learning environments, a specialized curriculum with a deliberate focus on communication and social interaction skills, and therapies directed at decreasing sensory overload. Family training that is necessary to support each family's ability to care for the individual with intellectual disability. Medical therapies, including specialized diets and supplements to improve the health of the child. In 2012, Ghana became the 119th country in the world to ratify the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, thereby affirming the country's commitment to respect the human rights of all its citizens, including those with disabilities. This paves the way for what will eventually be the elimination of stereotyping, exclusion, and discrimination against individuals with intellectual disabilities in Ghana.
A child with need has different types of needs. And so the services that should be provided for such a child is not only teaching. We should also add something like speech therapy, physiotherapy, and different forms of therapies. These need personnel who have been trained.
We are doing inclusive education to fit into our culture context. So the way we go about inclusion is a little bit different from what is happening in America.
A massive enlightenment campaign is required to spread awareness, and a few local initiatives from private, governmental, and international agencies periodically do that by organizing educational conferences, and activities for parents and teachers seeking to know more about the management of intellectual disabilities.
No matter, the child can be intellectually disabled, but that child knows something that you, who is not intellectually disabled, don't know, and you can't do. These are the skills and then abilities and potentials that we have, which we need to harness as teachers who are in the field of special education to develop the child. Academic performance is not only about education. Education is how to help the child for life, not for job.
Since February 2012, MyGOAL through Haven International has been organizing training seminars and workshops for healthcare providers, teachers, and parents of children with cognitive disabilities. Specialists in caring for persons living with the condition that are resident in and conversant with the cultural uniqueness of Ghana have been collaborating with specialists from the United States at these training sessions.
The big gift that Genevieve has given to me in the last year is to be able to use my skills in a part of the world that I had never anticipated using my skills. And the people that I've met here have been so appreciative of what I've been able to give to them, and have given back so much to me that it's been really quite a joy to come to Ghana. My son was diagnosed with autism at 2.5. And so then not only was I a special ed professional, but I was a special ed parent. And I think I bring both of those passions to all the work I do in special ed.
What brought me here to Ghana, again, is the need to upscale the work I've done in New Jersey with the LEAP Academy and the children. The ability to, what really, I have a passion for seeing kids happy and having kids enjoy going to school and getting the things they need. And so the passion for creating something new and replicating what has worked for me is what brought me here. Genevieve came to one of my leadership classes for community building, community development. And I met her there, and this is a program where you have to really work on projects and also do an applied piece. And her interest in my work, when I started talking about community development, building schools and designing spaces for people who didn't have a place at the table, she saw immediately the connection to her country and how I could probably make a difference. So she began to talk to me right away. One morning she came into class and she says, I just arrived from Ghana. And I said, oh my God, you should go to sleep. And she said, oh no, I could miss your class. And I was really impressed with her commitment, yet very quiet power, because in the class, there's a lot of people, there's about 40 people in this class, and she was quiet, always learning, but quiet, observing. And yet there was so much force in this small person that I got really interested in her commitment. I said, if someone flew from Ghana, didn't sleep hardly, for 11 hours, and then end up coming to my class and be here all day in a very intense dialogue about community change and about social justice and about rebuilding communities, then this person deserves my attention.
And she says she's been trying to get someone to go with her on this trip. And everybody she meets will be like, no, they work a lot, they have a full-time job, they can't do it. So when she approached me, and being that I'm from Nigeria, I'm also an African, I feel this would be an opportunity for me to give back to my home country and to other people, other children, because I was a child also at one point. So this was a great opportunity and I ran with it.
And this is my second time in Ghana. I've been volunteering with Dr. Genevieve at MyGOAL for the past year, helping families with autism with support groups, running sibling support groups, and just training volunteers and different people. And she asked me if I would like to come on this trip and train some teachers here and present some of the things I know and some of the techniques I work with. I'm an ABA therapist, so I work in people's homes teaching children life skills, some academic skills, and community skills. So what I did here in Ghana was just present what I do with the kids, like using token economies, using positive reinforcement, but using all those things outside of the classroom and inside the community.
Hundreds of individuals have participated in the Haven International Project. Multiple trips to Ghana have been made to raise awareness and expertise in the diagnosis and treatment of autism. These trainings and partnerships are currently being carried out with teachers, therapists, church leaders, physicians, and allied professionals, as well as families of individuals with intellectual disabilities.
I have to come. I needed to come because I have 3 of my children struggling with autism. I have my 3 boys. I have 4 children in all. My girl is okay, but my 3 boys have autism, and so anytime I need to hear any information, I need to get any information that will help them, I have to just be there. I have to be happy to be there because I know there are people out there who are willing to also help. And once they make time, especially traveling all over to come here, if I'm not sick, if I've been given the permission from the workplace, which they always do, I just have to come to also learn and see how best I can help my boys.
Haven International is focused on training community members, parents, and caregivers, engaging in collaborative partnerships with government, local, and international agencies, training healthcare professionals, providing teachers with the knowledge required to include and attend to the needs of their intellectually challenged pupils. A typical workshop session features case-based learning simulations and covers topics such as overview of autism and intellectual disabilities, best practices in behavioral management, chiropractic practices and autism, and the role of biomedical therapies. A focus group session facilitated by Dr. Gloria Bonilla Santiago, a program development expert and distinguished service professor of public policy and administration at Rutgers University, was attended by parents, educators, representatives of local governmental agencies, religious groups, and other invited stakeholders. The debate highlighted the common challenges to the effective management of developmental disabilities in Ghana, including the absence of consistent training of personnel, need to update traditional school teachers in modern developments in the management of children with intellectual disabilities, a shortage of medical professionals and facilities, inadequate or non-existent child assessment that may help with early diagnosis and intervention, parental attitude and frustration, bureaucratic obstacles, the lack of incentives such as tax rebates for program support by the private sector.
You got an opportunity to hear from their voices, okay, because this is really so important, to get them engaged in a dialogue about the need for building new schools here, and to talk about the problems and the challenges and the barriers. And so my takeaway was that, these people came to a focus group that they didn't know really what it really was about. When they walked away, they were empowered. They were excited because they got an opportunity to talk to me about what their vision was for their children.
Haven International's long-term mission is to create a self-sustaining special education center in Dorihum, Ghana, where cognitive disabilities will be diagnosed and treated. The facility, to be called the Haven International Center for Special Education, will be a center of excellence for the training of families, teachers, and healthcare practitioners. At the groundbreaking ceremony for the center, witnessed by local dignitaries and international guests, construction was set in motion for a complex that will be comprised of the Haven Smart Academy, the Haven Professional Training and Development Center, the Haven Assessment, Research, Health, and Wellness Center, the Vocational Program Center, and the Family Retreat and Respite Camp. Haven International will establish a network of collaborations with a conglomerate of relevant stakeholders in Ghana in health education, including local families and governments at the grassroots. Training will include early identification, supportive strategies to integrate children within schools and communities, therapeutic interventions, and the management of health concerns in children and adults with intellectual disabilities. As the training environment promotes interaction between teachers, families, and individuals with intellectual disabilities, there will be ample opportunity to conduct new research and obtain fresh data to establish prevalence rates in Ghana and other African countries.
Those who are supposedly doing something in special ed are constrained. Sometimes they don't have enough knowledge. There's a lot out there that doesn't get to them, or they're too preoccupied making do with the resources they have that they don't even have the time to do any research or go for any further training. So in the end, the kids suffer. Haven has proved her worth, if I can say so, because from training to training to training, there are people who have been participating from the very first training. And every time they sign on, and they've signed on again for another round. So there's plenty to do. I don't know how Haven will be able to carry the load, but I guess it takes God's grace.
They remind you of the fact that the children are not a mistake. You always hear that, and it's so motivating, knowing that they have also gone through it. It's not like people from somewhere who have gone to school, done their master's, PhD, and they want to come and lecture you about it. But these are people, especially Dr. Genevieve, and this time she came with this Dr. Larry, who says, I have children, and they specifically go give an example with their children who have been through what my children are going through now. So it's always emphasize the fact that you are not the first person. So far, stop, don't go crying, don't go wailing, because you are not the first person. And that's, I always, it motivates me a lot.
I don't have the words to describe the journey in its entirety, but what I can say is that there are some joys along the journey, and I'll give you an example. In this year on Father's Day, we've been trying to get Nicholas to use his iPad as a communication device, and it was not successful. But on Father's Day this year, Nicholas took the iPad, and that was the first time that I knew that Nicholas actually knew his alphabet and could spell. He actually just went into the app and pulled up an app, and was matching. For example, if it was cow, he would quickly match the cow and move to the next, the next animal, move to the next animal, move to the next animal. And I was just watching him in amazement, because all of a sudden I saw a side of him that I hadn't seen for about 11 plus years, and that brought joy to my heart. So these individuals with autism have a lot hidden in them, and this is why it's very important that we walk this journey with patience, with love, because it is that love that will bring out those skills that they have hidden in them. That is when they will share those skills with us, because that is their little secret.
They will also be training parents on how to work with their children at home, because the important thing is that even though your child is going to school, getting therapy, there has to be a carryover whereby the parents can continue what the teacher is doing in the classroom and what the therapist is also doing. Because sometimes, you spend more time with your children. So this project that Dr. Genevieve is planning on is really going to educate these parents a lot. And it's also going to give these parents a lot of opportunity to take their children to somewhere where they can offer them therapy, where it be physical therapy or occupational therapy or speech, like I said. Because some of these parents in Ghana right now are just keeping these children at home.
As a father and as a man, I am programmed to be a problem solver. I have issues with situations that I cannot solve, things that I cannot mend, things that I can't fix. They are a problem to us as men. So what I want to share is that we we kind of put that at the side and realize that we cannot fix our precious jewels, our children, by ourselves. It has to be a teamwork. And so it is very important that wherever there are support groups, wherever there are classes going on, that we don't leave that to the women alone. Most of the time when we go to the support groups, it's about maybe 80, 70 plus % of the crowd is the mothers. So I want to encourage the men, please come out. It's amazing because when I just came back from church, Nicholas just ran out of the door and he came to hug me and he was all over me. That just speaks a lot, that we have a huge role to play in the lives of our children. So wherever you are as a male figure in the household, it is very important that we play a more active role. It is important that we also understand the angle that they are coming from, some of the things that we can do in order to enhance their experience here with us. And so the only places we can learn those are some of these support groups, by reading, by sharing experiences with other parents and exchanging ideas. So I really want to encourage the men, particularly in the US here, to step out, and more so in Africa in general, because in Africa the raising of the child is pretty much left to the lady, particularly for a special needs child, who are mainly kept in the house, and so the men hardly interact with them. But you'll be amazed to see, if you take a few moments out to interact with these children, how much they spring out of their hidden cave onto the sunshine, onto the beach.
I see Haven, a campus, center of excellence, training leaders, training teachers, training individuals with autism and those without autism, providing vocational programs for these individuals, not just in Ghana. I see it in Nigeria, I see it in Liberia, I see it in Kenya, going to South Africa, moving over to the Caribbean. That's what I see. Because in 2 years, we've managed to get a word out there that we can bring resources together, whether they're parents, they're healthcare professionals, they're teachers, stakeholders, accountants, architects, and create a program that recognizing the value that these individuals have within them.
The Haven Initiative is set to become a model and a beacon of hope for families who currently feel isolated, rejected, and shamed because of often misunderstood disorders. Instead of hiding their children in back rooms or dumping them at prayer camps, Haven will empower parents, enlighten teachers, partner with health professionals, and offer a haven for individuals living with intellectual disabilities in Ghana. The birth of an intellectually disabled child should not be seen as a tragedy. Rather, it should be a challenge to promote inclusion and diversity in our communities and educational system.
Every individual has a potential to contribute significantly to our society. And it's a matter of unlocking that particular door that brings out the best in them. We know that Mozart was on a spectrum. Einstein was on a spectrum. And there are beautiful people who are making great inventions every day who potentially are on the spectrum and have been documented to be on the spectrum. So I believe that every individual, regardless of where they start, how they start, can finish strong, doing something great for our society.